Lesson 11.4, Solving Two-Step Inequalities. So your goal is to understand all the things that we've been talking about the last couple of days and put it all together to understand how to simplify and solve inequalities. Now, bottom line, what we finally got down to in class is that everything about inequalities and solving them is the same as equations except for this rule, that when we multiply or divide both sides by a negative, it reverses the value of the inequality, and because of that, we have to reverse the inequality symbol. Other than that, everything else is the same. Now, just a reminder, multiplication and division only, and when we're multiplying and dividing by a negative. Not just when a negative is involved, but we're specifically dividing or multiplying by a negative. All right, so here's an example. Here's a typical problem. B divided by negative 3 plus 4 is less than 13. And so what we'll do is we'll do our typical thought process, which is to, let's do that a little better, is to do a roadmap and to say, okay, they've got B here, they divided B by negative 3, and then they added 4. So I pull a U-turn. First thing I'm going to do is do the opposite, going reverse order, subtract 4 from both sides. And we get B divided by negative 3 is less than 9. We do the opposite of dividing by negative 3, which is to multiply by negative 3. Now, what I like to do here at this point is I like to put a star next to that move, just to remind myself that this is something that's a little bit different from equations. And I also like to start over here. That way I can just kind of, I don't know, just make myself more aware of it. So here, multiply by negative 3. What I do to one side, I do the other. All right, but because all of a sudden now negatives and positives have reversed, then that means this inequality symbol is pointed the other direction. So like we talked about in the last lesson, what I have to do is I have to flip-flop the symbol to counteract that change. All right, and then of course we just graph it. Start off with looks like negative 27. Don't forget with negatives we go backwards. Negative 26, negative 25, negative 28, negative 29. Okay, greater than but not equal to. So not equal to, open dot, but greater than negative 27. All right, but the important thing here is just this idea that we solve multi-step inequalities like we solve multi-step equations. We use our roadmap technique. We undo things in reverse order. And the only thing different is this starred move, that when we multiply or divide by a negative, just like I multiplied by negative 3 here, that I have to flip the inequality symbol. All right, so let's just take a look at a few more examples. So this one looks like the roadmap here would be they took D, they multiplied it by negative 3, and then they tacked on a 4. Okay, because there's an invisible positive symbol, so it's like adding 4. So our first move is to subtract 4 from both sides. Now again, addition, subtraction, doesn't matter. We just do this the same as equations. Next move, to divide by negative 3. And there's the move. We just divided both sides by a negative. So I'm going to start here, to remind me something a little weird is going on here, that all these positives and negatives are reversing in value, and I have to flip-flop the inequality symbol to less than to get that answer. All right, so graph it, negative 6, negative 5, so on and so forth. Negative 6 1/3 would be right about there. So D is less than negative 6 1/3, but not equal to it. So not equal, so open circle, and everything less than. All right, now this next one I included because this involves something where I see people make mistakes quite often. All right, let's start off with our roadmap though, like we usually do. We got Y, they multiplied it by 6. They then subtracted 7. So we're going to undo things in reverse order. So add 7 to both sides. We get 6y is less than or equal to negative 24. And then we have to divide by 6. All right, and so what happens here, at least what I see a lot in class, is people will do the steps, they'll divide by 6, and then over here they'll get a little bit confused. Negative 24 divided by 6, and they think, oh, I'm dividing and I've got a negative, so I should flip the inequality. But we've really harped on the wording here that we're specifically looking for multiplying and dividing by a negative. Not just a negative being involved, but actually dividing by a negative. And as you can see here, we're dividing by a positive 6. So in this case, that rule doesn't apply, and we just do it like normal. We leave the inequality symbol alone, we get negative 4, and so over here I just graph it, and we would just do this like any old problem. All right, so be careful about making sure that you are dividing by a negative and not just dividing into a negative. All right, anyways, our graph, closed dot, because it says y is less than or equal to negative 4, so equal to negative 4 is the closed dot. Anything less than that is also y. All right, how about one last one? Let's take a look here. So, do my road map. Got w. Looks like they took w and divided it by negative 4, and then they added 8. So pull a U-turn. Start off by subtracting 8 from both sides. We get 1 is less than w divided by negative 4. And here we multiply by negative 4. All right, and so here, once again, we're multiplying by a negative. So I start here. I get negative 4 on this side. Because all the values are reversing, I flip the symbol to greater than. These cancel, and I get w. Now, the reason why I included this on this last one, and I think I've mentioned this before, is I always get confused when my final answer looks like this. Negative 4 is greater than all my numbers for w. To me, I have a hard time making sense of that. So what I usually like to do is I like to flip things around so I can word it with w in the front. But to do that now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the entire problem around. All right, so don't get this confused with this move here. Here we flip the inequality symbol, and just the symbol because we multiplied both sides by negative 4. Here I'm just turning the problem around, but since there's, I guess you'd call it directionality, I have to flip the entire problem around, including the symbol. That way the inequality symbol is still pointing towards w. But now this makes a lot more sense to me. W is less than negative 4. So all the numbers I'm about to graph have to be less than, but not equal to negative 4. So not equal to negative 4, but everything less than that. All right, and so that's putting all our steps together and how we solve two-step inequalities.